Before you started messing around with your computer, I didn't even exist. Hello? You guys created me. I didn't come from anywhere. If we're gonna have any kind of fun together.
Way back in 1985, Weird Science turned every awkward teenager's wildest daydream into a colorful cinematic reality. It served as a massive career springboard while creating a definitive comedy classic that still defines the nostalgia of the 1980s. However, behind the neon glow, the cast's personal journeys were often marked by tragic loss, difficult battles with addiction and the heavy weight of fame, and personal transformations that went far beyond any digital creation a mainframe computer could ever fabricate. Let's discover where those familiar faces have landed in the year 2026. Leading our list is the era's favorite protagonist, Anthony Michael Hall, known to us as Gary, entering the world in the year 1968. Anthony was a mere 16-year-old when he played God on screen and has now reached 56. His portrayal of the lovable, fumbling geek truly gave the movie its enduring heart. By the time he worked with John Hughes, Anthony was already a legendary figure from his roles in The Breakfast Club and 16 Candles. He eventually found lasting happiness with his wife, actress Lucia Oscarova, in 2022, and they welcomed a baby boy in 2023. Hall did face a difficult legal battery situation in 2016 that was eventually resolved and reduced to a misdemeanor. More importantly, he successfully chose a sober path in his mid-20s after a challenging season of struggling with alcohol. Moving on to number 2, we find the charming Suzanne Snyder, who graced the screen as Deb. Just 22 during the shoot, she celebrated her 63rd birthday in 2026 as the elusive popular girl. Her presence provided the romantic stakes that fueled the boys' mission. Throughout the following decades, Suzanne maintained a busy acting career across the late 1980s and 90s, notably facing off against monsters in the cult hit Killer Clowns from Outer Space and appearing in many popular television programs. She eventually built a private life with the writer Grant Kramer, and together they have raised a beautiful family of 3 children. Snyder mostly stepped away from the Hollywood spotlight in the early 2000s. Today, she remains a welcome sight, popping up at 1980s nostalgia events where fans still celebrate her iconic and beloved teenage roles. At number 3, we find the thoughtful Ilan Mitchell-Smith, who played the introverted Wyatt. Born in 1969, he was 15 when filming and turned 56 in 2026. Wyatt's shy and technical brilliance made him the perfect anchor for Gary's wilder computer experiments. But Ilan took a bold turn and walked away from the glitz of Hollywood in the early 90s to follow a deeper calling in the academic world, trading scripts for a doctorate. He became a respected associate professor of English, sharing his love for medieval literature at the hallowed halls of California State University, located in Long Beach. Mitchell-Smith and Susanna Deary pledged their lifelong vows back in 1995. Their quiet life away from the cameras includes the joy of raising 2 children. The way he managed to completely reimagine his entire career remains a cinematic marvel. He successfully moved from being a teenage heartthrob to a deeply respected university professor. It is still celebrated as one of the most graceful exits from the limelight ever. Coming in at number 4, we have the lovely Judy Aronson. Remembered as Hilly, she first stepped into this world during the autumn of 1964. Judy was only 20 during filming and has recently celebrated her 61st birthday. As the quintessential popular girl, Hilly brought a spark that defined the social hierarchy. Her character provided the perfect friction that made those teenage romance plotlines really sing. Judy stayed close to the screen through the 1980s in many beloved horror classics. She famously faced off against terror in the 4th chapter of the Friday the 13th saga. Eventually, she decided to close that chapter and retired from professional acting altogether. She reinvented herself as a powerhouse entrepreneur, finding massive success in the wellness industry. Today, she manages a thriving network of several Pilates studios throughout Los Angeles. These days, Aronson prefers to keep the details of her private life hidden away for an entire generation. She remains a legendary scream queen and a foundational crush. Those who grew up in the 1980s still look back on her work fondly. Taking the 5th spot is the incomparable Bill Paxton, playing the role of Chad. Born in 1955, Bill was just 29 when he brought Chad to life. We lost this giant of the screen far too early at only 61 years old. The film world mourned his sudden and tragic departure in February of 2017. Those memorable moments of Chad being a bully have since become part of legend. Bill went on to command the screen in blockbusters like Aliens, Twister, and Titanic. He shared a brief marriage with Kelly Rowan before finding his true lifelong partner. He married Louise Newberry in 1987, staying together until his final day. Throughout their long and loving marriage, they were blessed with the gift of 2 children. Paxton passed away due to unexpected complications that followed a major surgery on his heart. His loved ones eventually pursued a legal case regarding the circumstances of his medical passing. That difficult journey against the hospital and the surgeon finally settled in 2022. At number 6, we find the talented Barbara Lang, who gave a heart to Lucy. Barbara was 47 years old when she took the role of Wyatt's concerned mother. She has lived a long, full life and has now reached the age of 88. Her portrayal of the classic worried parent gave the film a much-needed sense of home. It was her grounded performance that made the movie's more magical elements feel possible. Barbara's career was defined by her mastery of those essential supporting roles in Hollywood. She was a familiar face across many different television series and feature film projects. Her work was a staple of the screen throughout the vibrant 1980s. She continued her dedicated work in the industry well into the 1990s. Much like her characters, Barbara has always kept her private world separate from fame. She maintained a quiet and dignified personal life throughout her very long career. Lang represents a beautiful era of character actors who provided the soul of film. She was among those gifted performers who brought a sense of truth to every scene. Her contributions helped make the comedies of the 1980s feel grounded and human. She did it all for the love of storytelling, never chasing after the hollow spotlight, that shimmering peak of cinematic stardom. She still chooses to keep the curtains drawn tightly on her private world. As she journeys through her late 80s, she protects her quiet life with grace. Moving along to number 7 on our nostalgic list, we find a very young Robert Downey Jr. stepping into the role of Ian. Born in 1965, he was a mere 19-year-old when the cameras rolled. He has since grown from that teenage bully into a distinguished man of 60, stepping into the shoes of the antagonist. Ian gave us our very first glimpse into his immense, raw potential. Robert eventually rose to become the undisputed king of the Hollywood Hills. He truly captured our hearts as Iron Man after fighting through his own shadows. The late 1990s were a dark valley of addiction and heavy struggle. A difficult era marked by flashing sirens and seasons spent behind bars. Life changed when he wed the talented producer Suzanne Downey in 2005. This new chapter began after his long-ago marriage to Deborah Falconer reached its end. Many still remember his 80s romance with the iconic Sarah Jessica Parker. He has walked a sober and steady path since 2003, authoring what is arguably the most beautiful comeback story in movie history. Arriving now at number 8, we remember the lovely Jill Whitlow as the girl at the perfume counter. Born in 1963, she was just 21 during those mall scenes. After her brief moment in the spotlight, she has reached 62 years. She now looks toward the milestone year of 2026. That Perfume salesgirl was only a small part of the tale, but those shopping mall sequences are forever etched in our memories. Jill was a familiar face in many of our favorite 1980s films, making a lasting impression in cult classics like Night of the Creeps. Eventually, she chose to step away from the blinding Hollywood light. Today, she finds her greatest joy as a mother raising 2 children. She is currently happily engaged to the actor and producer Jason Laffridge. For many years now, Whitlow has intentionally stayed far away from the prying eyes of the public. She chose her private world over the fleeting and frantic fame of stardom. It is a graceful path taken by many beloved starlets from that decade. At number 9, we turn our attention to Robert Rusler playing Max. He began his own life journey back in 1965. At 18, he was the face of youth, and he is now turning 60. Max was the tough antagonist that truly proved his early acting chops. That early spark ignited a career that has never truly flickered out. Ever since his big break in Weird Science, he has worked very steadily, from A Nightmare on Elm Street to dozens of other projects. He keeps the details of his romantic life behind a wall of privacy. Looking back at Rusler's long journey, he has built a very reliable and solid career as a working actor. He remains a respected figure with 4 decades of cinematic stories to tell. He managed to navigate the glittering lights of Tinseltown without the usual scandals or messy headlines that often follow fame. It makes you wonder how some stars stay so grounded while others drift away. Sliding into the number 10 spot is the formidable Vernon Wells, who took on the role of the menacing Lord General. His presence on screen was something you simply couldn't look away from back then. Coming into the world in 1945, Vernon had reached the age of 38 when he stepped onto the set. He brought a certain seasoned intensity to a production filled with youthful energy. While he was in his late 30s during the shoot, he has recently celebrated his 80th birthday. It is incredible to think how quickly those decades have slipped by since we first saw him. As the leather-clad leader of a wild motorcycle gang, his character commanded respect and fear in equal measure. He was the kind of antagonist who defined the rebellious spirit of 1980s cinema. He injected a genuine sense of danger and chaos into that unforgettable party scene at the house. You can almost still feel the tension rising as his crew crash the festivities. Before joining this cast, Vernon had already carved out a name for himself in high-octane classics like Mad Max 2 and Commando. He was the go-to guy for roles that required a truly grizzled, tough-as-nails edge, long before he stepped into the world of Weird Science. He was building a lasting legacy. For a very long time now, he has walked through life with a steady partner by his side. He has shared a beautiful life and marriage with Isabel Wells, spanning many wonderful years together. Their enduring bond is a rare and heartwarming story in the fast-paced world of entertainment. Over the years, Wells transformed into a legendary character actor whom audiences always recognize and respect. He found a unique niche that allowed him to remain a constant fixture in our movie memories. He is widely celebrated for those iconic tough guy roles that became his signature on the silver screen. There was an undeniable grit in every performance that made him feel like a true Hollywood powerhouse. Later in his career, he often revisited those rugged characters with a playful, tongue-in-cheek wink to the audience. It showed a man who didn't take himself too seriously, even when playing the villain. Even today, he keeps his passion for the craft alive by continuing to work on various projects. He remains a deeply beloved figure for those of us who grew up watching him dominate the screen. You can still find him sharing stories and smiles with fans on the cult film convention circuit today. It's a wonderful way for the community to say thank you for all those legendary moments. Moving to number 11, we remember Britt Leach, the man who gave us the character of Al Wallace. He played the kind of father figure that felt so familiar to many of us growing up in that era. Born back in 1938, Britt had already seen quite a lot of life before he joined the production. He brought a sense of quiet experience to a movie that was largely about teenage dreams. He was 46 years old when he took on the role of Gary's father, and today he has reached the impressive age of 87. Time has a way of softening the edges of those old movie memories, doesn't it? The short scenes featuring Al provided a much-needed sense of reality to the chaotic home lives of the two boys. He was the anchor in a story that was otherwise drifting into a digital fantasy world. Throughout the 1970s, Britt was a constant presence on television screens across the country. He was one of those reliable actors who could make any scene feel authentic and lived in. His career spanned the vibrant landscapes of both the 1970s and the 1980s. But eventually, the call of a quieter life began to pull him away from the bright studio lights. He decided to officially retire from the acting world as the early 1990s began to unfold. It marked the end of a long chapter, but the start of something more personal and quiet. For several decades, he has shared his life in a committed marriage to Catherine D. Roberts. Their partnership has stood the test of time far away from the prying eyes of the paparazzi. They have been walking hand in hand together since 1981, creating a life full of shared history. It's the kind of long-term devotion that seems like a beautiful script in its own right. After moving on from the industry, Leach turned his creative energy toward personal projects that truly mattered to him. He traded the spotlight for the simple satisfaction of working on his own terms. He spent much of his time immersed in the world of writing once he chose to leave the Hollywood scene behind. There is a certain peace that comes with trading lines of dialogue for pages of prose. Choosing to step away from the cameras was a choice fueled by a desire for a different kind of fulfillment. He wanted to focus his heart and soul on something more permanent than a fleeting film role. By prioritizing his family and his own creative interests, he showed us that there is more to life than fame. It was a brave move that whispered of a man who knew exactly what he valued most. It became clear that the glitz of Hollywood was never the only thing that fueled his passion for living. He found his true happiness in the quiet moments that the cameras never captured. At number 12, we come to the breathtaking Kelly LeBrock, who famously stepped into the role of Lisa. She wasn't just a character. She was a phenomenon that defined an entire generation's imagination. Born in 1960, Kelly possessed a magnetic charm that was evident from the very beginning. When she arrived on the set of this iconic film, she was just beginning to realize her own power. She was only 24 years old when she brought that digital fantasy to life, and she has now reached the age of 65. It's hard to believe so much time has passed since she first graced our screens as Lisa. Her character represented a kind of computer-generated perfection that seemed impossible back then. She became a symbol of every young person's wildest dreams during that neon-soaked decade. To many, she was the ultimate fantasy of the 1980s. A woman who combined beauty with a playful sense of mystery. She truly captured the magic and the longing of that unique era in film history. Before she ever walked onto a movie set, Kelly had already conquered the high-fashion world as an incredibly successful model. Her face was already familiar to millions who saw her on the covers of glossy magazines. It was the magic of Weird Science that truly launched her career into the cinematic stratosphere. Suddenly, she wasn't just a face on a page, but a star that everyone was talking about. In 1987, she entered into a high-profile marriage with the action star Steven Seagal. At the time, they seemed like one of the most powerful and glamorous couples in all of Tinseltown. During their time together, they welcomed 3 children into their lives, building a family amidst the whirlwind of fame. But as we often see, even the most beautiful stories can face incredibly difficult chapters. Their relationship eventually ended in a very public and painful divorce in 1996. It was a challenging time that played out under the harsh and unforgiving light of the media spotlight. Following those trials, LeBrock made the choice to walk away from the Hollywood machine for a long time. She sought a different kind of peace. Far removed from the constant noise of the industry, she chose to raise her children in the quiet solitude of a ranch, prioritizing their well-being over her own career. There is something deeply moving about a mother choosing the earth and the sky over the red carpet, settling into the rugged beauty of Southern California. She made a conscious decision to put her family above all else. She traded the flashbulbs for the simple, honest work of building a home. During that incredibly tumultuous time in her life, she chose the warmth of her children over the cold flicker of fame. It was a journey of healing that allowed her to find her true self again. Finally, arriving at number 13, we take a moment to look back at another classic face from this nostalgic journey. We are talking about the distinct and talented Michael Berryman, who brought his undeniable screen presence to the cast. He took on the role of the mutant biker, leaving a lasting impression on everyone who witnessed his wild performance. Back when the cameras were first rolling, Michael Berryman was a man of 36. And today, he has gracefully reached the venerable age of 77. It makes one wonder where the decades went between those iconic frames. There was something truly haunting and singular about that mutant biker's look. A face you simply could not look away from. It carved out a permanent, jagged space in our collective cinematic memory. He gave us a party crasher in the movie Weird Science who didn't just break the rules, but completely shattered the evening's vibe. He was the guest no one expected, yet everyone would talk about for years, long before he ever wandered into a John Hughes production. Michael had already chilled our blood in the terrifying classic The Hills Have Eyes. He carried that heavy weight of horror history into every new scene. His legendary status was already set in stone well before he ever stepped onto the set of the film Weird Science. It is fascinating how one man could bridge the gap between pure terror and teenage comedy. These days, he shares his life in a deep sense of quiet joy with his wife, Patricia Berryman. They have built a beautiful, private world together, far away from the flashing lights of the red carpet. The couple pours their hearts into protecting the wild, specifically through their passionate work for wolf conservation and other vital wildlife causes. It is a legacy of kindness that stretches far beyond the cinema. If you talk to anyone who has worked in the industry, they will tell you that Berryman is perhaps one of the gentlest souls to ever walk a movie set. His heart is as big as his roles were intense, in the gritty, often dark world of horror. He is celebrated as a true professional who treats every frame with the utmost respect. He turned what could have been simple monsters into something profoundly human. He has spent years cultivating a sterling reputation among the dedicated fans and creators of the cult film underground. He has become something of an unofficial king within the midnight movie circuit. There is a rare kind of love for him that exists between the fans in the front row and the fellow actors who stood beside him. His dedication to the craft is a story worth telling on its own. That unwavering commitment to his work has been the steady North Star of a career that has spanned more decades than most can imagine. It is the golden thread weaving his life's work together. Today, film buffs and historians alike stop to celebrate the unique and lasting mark he has left on the silver screen. His presence is a gift that continues to resonate with every new generation of viewers. Moving to number 14, let us take a walk down memory lane with the talented John Kapelos in his role as Dino. There is a certain magic in those character actors who ground a story. His journey in this world began way back in the year 1956, a time when the landscape of entertainment was just beginning to shift. Little did he know the iconic roles that awaited him. John was just 28 years old when he took on the role of that slightly eccentric candy bar owner. He brought a certain spark to the screen that made a simple shopkeeper feel like a legend. Since those days of neon lights and big hair, the actor has gracefully transitioned into his 70th year of life. Time has a beautiful way of refining a truly great artist. Even in that brief scene at the bar, one could see the raw and undeniable talent that Kapelos was ready to share with the world. It was a small glimpse into a very bright future. This performance came just a heartbeat before the film The Breakfast Club would turn him into a name every teenager in America knew by heart. He was standing right on the edge of superstardom, There was a shadow across his path when a devastating car accident nearly cost him his life during a particularly dark chapter. It was a moment where the world seemed to hold its breath. The weight of losing his mother led him into a painful personal struggle with alcohol as he tried to drown a grief that felt too heavy. It is a story of human vulnerability we know too well. That profound tragedy pushed him toward a major low point that felt almost impossible to climb out of at the time. The darkness was deep, and the way back seemed long and uncertain. However, that moment of despair served as the ultimate turning point for his journey toward sobriety and health. It was the difficult start of a brand new act in his personal story. That struggle eventually became the fertile soil for a period of immense personal growth and transformation. It serves as a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Today, he finds his peace in a steady, long-term relationship that provides the emotional anchor he once lacked. He finally found the partner he was meant to walk beside through life. He made the beautiful decision to get married while he was in his 60s, proving the heart never stops looking for its home. It was a wonderful reminder that second chances are always possible. His life stands as living proof that no matter the age or the intensity of the struggle, it is never too late for love and recovery. It is the kind of happy ending we all root for.